She hid me by the trash, not in a metaphorical way. Literally, behind the swinging doors of the kitchen, beside bins that reeked of sour wine and wilted roses. My daughter, my Tanya, put me there. I sold my future for her education, mortgaged my home, wired her $27,000. And on her wedding day, I was treated like refuse. When I asked why, she whispered, "Mama, please, Malcolm's family won't understand island people. Just bear it for me, for one day." The seating chart they produced in court had one yellow highlight next to my name, Mother of the Bride, BOH, back of house, like I was inventory. They tried to bury me in shame, but they forgot mothers are not garbage, we are soil, and from soil things grow.
Marcia Bennett, thank you for being here. We know your story holds lessons for many. Are you ready to share it?
Sure.
I flew across the sea for my daughter's wedding. From Kingston to Miami, then Miami to Atlanta. 2 flights, aching knees, swollen ankles, and a heart that wouldn't stop racing with pride. I was 68, a retired nurse who had stitched wounds and delivered babies for 3 decades in Jamaica. I wasn't a woman of riches, but I had always been a woman of sacrifice. My name is Marcia Bennett, and this is how my only child broke me in front of strangers. She hid me by the trash. Not in a metaphorical way, not in whispers or cold looks. Literally, behind the swinging doors of the kitchen, beside bins that reeked of sour wine and wilted roses. My daughter, my Tanya, put me there. But to understand how that moment felt, you need to know what I gave up for her. I raised Tanya after her father walked out when she was barely 6. He claimed he was leaving for better opportunities in England, but the better opportunity was another woman. I remember that night like a fever dream, the slam of the door, the empty bottle of rum on the counter, my daughter's sobbing tucked into my chest. From then on, it was me and her against the world. I worked night shifts at the hospital, 12 hours on my feet, blood crusted on my scrubs, back bent from lifting patients twice my size. Every payday, I'd take a portion in cash and slip it into a small tin I kept hidden in the flour barrel. That was my Tanya fund, for her school shoes, for her textbooks, for the extra tutoring when she dreamed of medicine but needed stronger grades in chemistry. When she won a scholarship to study business in the States, the partial award wasn't enough. Tuition, flights, living costs, they were mountains, so I did the unthinkable. I refinanced my little 2-bedroom house in St. Mary, the one my father had built block by block with his own calloused hands. A bank officer looked me dead in the eye and said, "Miss Bennett, you understand, if payments lapse, you could lose this property?" I nodded. My heart was hammering, but my voice was steady. Yes. My daughter deserves her chance. And so the debt became mine. Every month, half my pension and half my hospital savings went straight to that bank. I ate salt mackerel and cabbage when I couldn't afford chicken. I patched my old sandals with glue when the straps tore. All so Tanya could stand tall in classrooms filled with children of CEOs and senators. I kept telling myself, this is how love repays itself. She'll make it, and she'll remember who got her there. For years, letters came full of gratitude. "Mama, I'm top of my class. Mama, I got an internship. Mama, one day I'll buy you a new house overlooking the sea." I carried those words in my chest pocket at work, folded and unfolded until the paper went soft. Then came the wedding. Her fiancé, Malcolm, was from an Atlanta family with money long as the highway. They had big plans, country club receptions, imported orchids, live jazz band. But the budget was a problem, Tanya confessed. His parents would pay for daycare and catering, but the down payment on the hall was short. I didn't even hesitate. I wired $27,000, the savings I had kept aside for my medical treatments in old age. My knees are ruined from years of hospital lifting, and the doctors had advised joint replacement soon. That was the fund. But when Tanya called, her voice trembling between love and urgency, I said yes. Always yes. That money became their fairy tale venue. The Chaston Grand Pavilion, all marble pillars and fountains lit by chandeliers that sparkled like frozen stars. I bought my plane ticket with the last of my credit card limit. I packed my best dress, deep green silk, a gift from my church sisters who pooled money just so I could look regal that day. They hugged me before I left, saying, "Marcia, you've raised a queen. You'll sit in honor, front row." The flight was long, and my body felt every mile. Still, my spirit was high. I kept imagining Tanya's face when she saw me, the mother who had carried her future on tired shoulders. But when I arrived, things shifted. At the rehearsal dinner, I noticed she barely introduced me. "This is my mom," she said quickly, before whisking me past groups of laughing guests. She spent more time smoothing Malcolm's mother's shawl than asking if I'd eaten. I brushed it off as nerves. A bride has 100 worries. The morning of the wedding, I ironed my dress until the silk gleamed. I pinned my graying hair with golden clips I'd bought years ago for this very occasion. When I looked in the mirror, I saw a tired but proud Jamaican woman who had earned her seat. I arrived at the pavilion early, clutching the gift envelope with 2 crisp $100 bills for Tanya and Malcolm. Not much, compared to the tens of thousands I had already given, but it was my token. A woman with a headset and clipboard greeted me. Name: Marcia Bennett, mother of the bride. Her eyes flicked over the list. Something in her face tightened. Yes, follow me. I expected the central aisle, the row reserved for parents. Instead, she led me down a side corridor, past the clink of champagne flutes, past the polished laughter of arriving guests. My steps slowed. Where are we going? I asked. She pushed through double doors and the smell hit me first. Sour wine, burnt oil, and bleach. A service hallway. Ahead, 2 silver trash bins stood, half full of discarded flowers and broken glassware. And beside them, a single folding chair. The woman gestured. This is your assigned seat. I froze. Pardon. Bride's instructions. Her tone was professional, cold. No exceptions. My chest clenched. I whispered, but I'm her mother. She gave me a tight smile, the kind that ends a conversation. Enjoy the ceremony. The doors swung closed. The music swelled faintly on the other side. I was left staring at the bins, their lids half open, flies already circling. I sat because what else could I do? My legs trembled too much to stand. Minutes later, the doors burst open. Tanya swept in, veil trailing, eyes flashing. Mama, what are you doing here? You should have stayed seated. Seated where? By the garbage. My voice cracked. She hissed, please, don't make a scene. Malcolm's family, his colleagues, they don't understand island people. They'll think less of us. Island people, that's what she called me. As if my accent, my skin, my very being was something shameful she had to hide. I felt my throat burn. After all I gave you, after what I sold, what I starved for, you sit me with the trash. She glanced nervously at the swinging doors, as if afraid someone might hear. Mama, don't do this, just bear it for me, for one day. Then she was gone, gliding back into her perfect hall, her perfect crowd. And I remained, an old Jamaican nurse, dressed in silk, sitting beside bins that stank of waste. I don't know how long I sat there. The quartet played, the guests applauded, the vows were said. Through the small window in the swinging doors, I caught slivers of it all, her radiant smile, his proud stance, their kiss under the chandelier. Every cheer outside was another knife inside me. At one point, a young waiter carrying dirty plates stopped, frowned at me, and whispered, Ma'am, you shouldn't be here. His voice held pity, not malice. He offered me a glass of water. That small kindness nearly broke me. I muttered thanks, tears slipping despite myself. But then something hardened inside me. All my life, I had carried Tanya on my shoulders. She had stood on my back to reach her dreams. But now, she had used that height to spit down on me. I realized something as I sat there, the stench clinging to my dress. Love without respect is not love. It is exploitation dressed as gratitude. And I, Marcia Bennett, would not die a fool who gave everything for nothing. That night, after the ceremony, I went back to my hotel room. I peeled off the silk dress that now smelled of rot. I stared at myself in the mirror, lined face, weary eyes, but a spine still straight. I made myself a vow. If Tanya thought she could buy a future with my money and bury me with her shame, she was wrong. She had forgotten that I was a nurse. I knew how to fight for life when death hovered near. I knew how to use records, documents, and institutions. I knew how to fight not with fists, but with precision. And I would fight, not for her, not anymore. For me, for the dignity they tried to bury. I did not sleep that night. I lay on the stiff hotel mattress with the city humming through the window, and I sorted my life into piles in my head. What I had given, what I had left, and what I was willing to lose to regain my name. By sunrise, I had a plan, not rage, not gossip. A plan built with paper, signatures, and witnesses. First, I opened my small suitcase and spread everything on the desk like a nurse setting a tray for surgery. Bank wire confirmation for $27,000. Copy of my mortgage refinance agreement. WhatsApp messages with Tanya, the ones where she wrote, "Mama, I swear we'll make it right after the wedding." And, "Please, I need your help now. We'll handle you later." Words people toss around when they think love makes it safe to be careless. I scrolled, screenshotted, printed at the hotel business center, and slipped each page into a clear sleeve. At 8:59 a.m., I called the Chastain Grand Pavilion and asked for records. A bored voice answered. I made my tone firm, professional. "My name is Marcia Bennett. I was present at an event yesterday, the Bennett Holt wedding. I am requesting preservation of all security footage in the back of house corridor by the main kitchen from noon to midnight. I appear in that footage. Please confirm preservation." A pause, then the man cleared his throat. "Ma'am, we don't usually." "You will want to," I said softly. "My attorney will follow with a letter by noon." He promised to note it. I wrote down his name, time, and the exact words. A nurse learns to document like a soldier. By 9:12, I had the name of the wedding planner from the program I picked off a lobby table the night before. I sent a brief email. "Dear Ms. Lang, please preserve all communication, seating charts, and instructions received from the bride, groom, or their families regarding the placement of mother of the bride. I appear in those communications by name. A formal notice is forthcoming. Am Bennett. No threats, just a lighthouse beam cut through fog. We are not done here." Then I called a woman I knew only by stories. Sister D, a deacon's wife who moved from St. Mary to Atlanta 20 years ago and runs the Jamaican Benevolent Society there. I got her number from a church sister back home the night before, between tears. She picked up on the second ring, warm voice, sharp mind. "Miss Marcia, me hear you reach and it not easy. Talk to me." I told her the facts, not the knife in my chest, just the facts, money sent, humiliation delivered, the smell of bleach on my silk, the bins, the chair. The word island people dropped like a shoe. She kept quiet until I finished. Then she said, "We deal with two things here, dignity and law. I'll put you with a lawyer who does elder financial exploitation cases. Georgia got statutes for this, and tonight we breaking bread at Taste of Kingston on Camp Elton Road. Come meet some of your own. Bring your papers." By noon, I was in a small office on Cascade Road with the nameplate R. Carter, Esquire on frosted glass. She was mid-40s, black blazer, eyes like someone who has seen every trick and still believes in the straight line. I laid out my sleeves of paper on her desk. I spoke in the same tone I used to use with surgeons, calm, precise, unflinching. She listened. She did not pat my hand. She did not say, "Poor you." When I finished, she said, "Here is what we have. Unjust enrichment, promissory estoppel based on those messages, and a clean shot under Georgia's protection of elder persons, financial exploitation through undue influence. You are over 65. They solicited funds, then intentionally excluded and degraded you. We can argue coercion and misrepresentation. It's not just rude, it's actionable." I exhaled for what felt like the first time since the double doors. She continued, already writing. Step 1, demand letter by certified mail with a 10-day payment window, plus notice to preserve evidence to venue and planner. Step 2, file in Fulton County Superior Court for restitution and damages if they play games. Step 3, temporary restraining order to freeze any wedding cash accounts, Hunafund, Zelle gift accounts until adjudication. We can't freeze their salaries without judgment, but we can make noise where the money just landed. Step 4, lien if they own property. If not, wage garnishment after judgment. You ready for this? I have been ready since the bins, I said. She smiled with half her mouth. Good, one more thing. You will not weaponize rumor. We keep this in the daylight. Truth only. It's slower than scandal, but it lasts longer. I nodded. I had no taste left for whispers. I wanted the kind of justice that sits quietly on paper and ruins lies. She turned to her paralegal. Draft the demand, quote the messages, attach the wire, add elder exploitation language and treble damages request, courier it today. At 2:27 p.m., the letters went out. To Tanya and Malcolm at their condo in Midtown, to Malcolm's parents in Buckhead, to the planner, to the venue, to the gift registry platform with account numbers my lawyer's investigator pulled from screenshots on Instagram stories. People love to brag about where to send money. We attached the preservation notices, stamped and signed. At 6:00 p.m., I walked into Taste of Kingston with my envelope of copies under my arm. The restaurant was small, bright, full of voices that sounded like home. Curry goat and fried plantain perfume. Sister D hugged me like a mother hugs a child who has done nothing wrong. They cleared a table. People made space. A young man from Jamaica College alumni said, "Miss Bennett, me mother used to be nurse too, anything you need." A man from a trucking company offered, "We can post bond if you ever need, we here." An older woman slid her reading glasses down her nose and said, "Child, write down exactly how much you sent and when they asked. Truth is a spear when you put it in God's hand." I didn't say much. I just ate pepper shrimp and let the warmth move through my bones. I was not alone. My shame had no place in that room. Dignity sat at the table and asked for seconds. The next morning, my phone lit up. Not Tanya, not yet. The first call was the venue manager. "Ms. Bennett, we received your preservation letter. We are complying." "Thank you. Please also confirm receipt of my request for a copy of any seating chart that lists mother of the bride and the location assigned." A beat paper shuffled. He sounded nervous. "We have a chart. It lists you as reserved BOH. That's back of house, I'm sorry." Back of house, they'd stamp me like inventory. "Please send me a certified copy," I said, and the email thread that accompanied it with times. He said their policy required a subpoena for emails. "You will receive one," I said, and hung up. At 10:13 a.m., Tanya finally called. Her contact photo bloomed on my screen, the one I took the day she left for college, eyes bright, head tilted, promise in her mouth. I let it ring once, twice, then I answered. "Mama," her voice was small, edges fraying. "Why would you send lawyers? You're embarrassing us." "The word you are looking for is consequences," I said. "We were going to talk to you," she rushed. "After the honeymoon, things were hectic. Mama, please, Malcolm is furious. His parents are." "His parents can speak to my attorney," I said. 10 days to return the $27,000 in full, or a payment plan secured by a promissory note and consent to wage garnishment, notarized. Also a written apology acknowledging what you did. No adjectives, just facts. "Mama, don't do this to me." "You did this to yourself," I said, "and you did it to me by a kitchen bin. You will meet the woman you tried to hide." She started to cry, but it was the kind of cry that begs for the old arrangement, my sacrifice, her relief. I listened for 30 seconds. Then I said, "The next call you make will be to Ms. Carter. Goodbye, Tanya." I ended the call. My hand was steady. The days that followed were a steady march of paper. Ms. Carter filed in Fulton County. The caption looked heavy on the page, Bennett v. Holt et al. She attached screenshots of WhatsApp messages. She attached my wire transfer. She attached a sworn declaration where I wrote, in simple lines, what happened on the day my daughter married. No adjectives, just the shape of the day. A clerk stamped it. A process server hand-delivered the summons to their building concierge. The concierge signed for it, and there was a record. We moved for a temporary restraining order on registry accounts. Honeyfund froze $3,800 that had not yet been withdrawn. It was not much, but it was a message. The money river will meet a dam. The venue resisted the email thread, so Ms. Carter filed a subpoena. The planner under that subpoena produced a neat PDF packet. Seating chart, final, with a yellow highlight on mother of the bride, BOH, and a short email from Tanya at 6:34 a.m. on the wedding day. "Please make sure my mother is placed out of sight. We have high-profile guests who won't understand. Don't let her in the main hall." I looked at those words for a long time. I did not feel hot. I felt cold. Like the kind of cold that preserves a body so the coroner can see exactly what killed it. We also got a text from Malcolm's mother to the planner. "No incidents today, please. Secure mother in back if necessary." Secure mother, as if I were a hazard, not a human. Ms. Carter placed those into the court record with quiet hands. No dramatics, just the weight of truth. Their lawyer called, a brisk voice. "Expensive. He suggested we were blowing a family misunderstanding into public spectacle. Ms. Carter said, "My client is over 65. Your client solicited funds, then intentionally ostracized and humiliated her. We will take this to a jury," and ended the call. Meanwhile, Sister D had another idea, not for court, but for soul. "Miss Marcia, we holding a little gathering at St. Mark AME next Sunday, celebration of elders. Nuttin' fussy, just testimonies and prayer. Come speak." I hesitated. I am not a woman who likes microphones. I prefer to hold hands in hospital rooms and whisper courage. But I said yes, not to punish, to root my story in something older than shame. On Sunday, I stood at a simple wooden lectern with sunlight from stained glass warming my shoulders. I didn't call names. I didn't say trash. I said, "I am a mother. I gave beyond my measure. I sat in a place that tried to tell me I am less. I am not less, and neither are you." A quiet spread through the pews like water finds its level. After the service, elders hugged me. Young people nodded, eyes bright. A man pressed an envelope into my hand, 5 crisp hundreds. "For your surgery, Miss Bennett, from a son who knows better." I tried to refuse. He said, "Let me be decent today. You go collect your real money from the court." When Tanya heard about the church service through the grapevine, she sent a voice note, voice thick, pride crushed but still kicking. "Mama, you making me look like a monster." I typed back 3 words, "Confession heals reputation." On the 10th day, the deadline lapped against their door like the sea against stones. They did not pay. So we pushed forward. The court set a hearing for our motion on the restraining order. The date sat on my kitchen calendar back in St. Mary, August 14, 10:00 a.m. Circled in red, I flew back home in the meantime. The air in Jamaica felt like medicine. The hibiscus bowed under rain. My neighbor, Miss Pauline, brought callaloo and breadfruit and said, "You strong, Marcia, hold your line." I sat at my old table and balanced my accounts. The numbers were tight. The mortgage bit each month like a small dog with sharp teeth. But with a church gift and a little extra work at the clinic 3 days a week, I could stretch until judgment. I was 68, but my hands still remembered how to tape an IV line and steady a frightened pulse. While I waited, Ms. Carter sent me drafts of the complaint addendum. She wanted to include a claim for intentional infliction of emotional distress. I read it line by line. "Let it stand," I said. "If a jury of strangers ever needs to know what a garbage bin smells like when your child puts you beside it, let them read it in black and white." 2 days before the hearing, Malcolm's mother called me directly. The call came from a blocked number. I answered anyway. "Mrs. Bennett," she said, voice smooth as hotel marble, "we are all very sorry this upset you." "This did not upset me," I said. "It defined you." She exhaled through her nose. "Let us be practical. Withdraw the case. We'll send you $5,000 and a note expressing regret." I almost laughed. "You don't need to send me $5,000. Keep it by a mirror." She changed tone, steel under silk. "You should know we have friends in this city." "Then they will enjoy reading the filings," I said, and hung up. The morning of court, I wore a navy dress and my church sister's gold clips. Ms. Carter met me on the steps with a folder and a smile that meant we had everything we needed. Inside, the courtroom was cool, pews polished, seal on the wall heavy with promise. The judge was a gray-haired woman with reading glasses and a way of looking over them that felt like a scalpel. She listened as Ms. Carter laid out the facts, page by page. She listened as their lawyer spoke of miscommunication and cultural differences. When the planner's email was read out loud, "Please make sure my mother is placed out of sight." The judge lifted her eyes and let a silence hang in the room until it made even air uncomfortable. Then she spoke. "The temporary restraining order is granted. Registry funds remain frozen. The defendants are enjoined from dissipating any gifts or cash accounts related to the wedding beyond ordinary living expenses. This matter will proceed on the merits. Counsel, I suggest you speak plainly with your clients about exposure on the elder exploitation claim." Gavel paper shuffled, people stood. Outside, Ms. Carter squeezed my hand. "It begins." On the sidewalk, the air tasted like something hard and clean. Justice never feels like fireworks. It feels like a door that finally opens because you kept pushing on the right side. That evening, my phone buzzed again. "Tanya," I let it ring. Then I answered, "Mama, can you meet me? No lawyers, please, just us." I hesitated. A boundary is not a wall. It is a gate with a lock. I can choose when it opens. 1 hour, I said, in a public place, St. Mark's Steps. We sat on the church steps as the streetlights came on. She looked smaller than I remembered in all her big city clothes. Mascara clumped, hands twisting. "Mama," she said, "I was afraid of how they'd see me, of how I'd sound next to them. I thought hiding you would hide the part of me I still hear when I'm tired. I was wrong. I know that. I am sorry." I kept my eyes on the traffic. "Do you know what you did? Name it." "I took your money and then took your face away," she whispered. "Yes," I said. "You turned me into a shadow after I turned bills into your future." She swallowed. "If I sign whatever you want, if we do a plan, will you take the case down?" "No," I said. "We can settle in court with dignity. Paper protects both of us from our worst selves." She cried then, the old way, like a little girl whose knee cracked on gravel. I did not put my arm around her. I did not say it would be okay. I am not a nurse to this wound anymore. I am the patient who finally agreed to surgery. We walked to the corner. I hailed her a car. We did not hug. That night, I wrote in my prayer journal, "Let truth do its slow work. Keep my hand steady. Take the taste for vengeance out of my mouth and leave only justice." When I closed the book, I realized something simple. Whether they paid today or in a year, whether a jury decided or a settlement did it, I had already won back the thing you cannot wire across oceans: myself. The case moved slowly, as cases always do. Lawyers like to measure time in months, not hours, but I did not mind. I had lived long enough to know that quick things burn out and slow things last. While the papers shuffled between Fulton County and Buckhead law offices, I returned to Jamaica. The sea greeted me like an old friend. My hibiscus leaned heavy with blooms, my breadfruit tree heavy with fruit. Neighbors came by with smiles that said they knew and they approved. Word travels fast, even across oceans. I kept working part-time at the clinic. Old hands still know how to steady an IV, still know how to comfort the frightened. Every paycheck went straight to my mortgage. Each month I sent the bank what I owed, even when it left me eating sardines on crackers for dinner. Dignity sometimes looks like numbers adding up in a ledger. One afternoon, a brown envelope arrived by courier. Inside was a settlement offer. Tanya and Malcolm, through their attorneys, agreed to repay the full $27,000 plus interest, spread over 2 years, secured by Malcolm's salary and guaranteed by his parents. There would also be a written statement of apology to be notarized and filed with the court. I sat at my kitchen table in St. Mary with that letter in my hands. My father's voice echoed in my memory, the way he used to say, "Paper talks when mouths lie." I signed my consent. 3 weeks later, I received the first payment, $10,000 wired into my account. I looked at the numbers glowing on the screen. It was not charity, it was restitution. Money I had given in love, now clawed back by justice. The apology arrived, too. On heavy stationery, Malcolm's family crest embossed in gold. But the words were plain, no embellishment. We acknowledged that we solicited funds from Mrs. Marcia Bennett under the pretense of family need, then subjected her to humiliation by placing her at the back of the venue during our wedding. We recognize this act as deeply disrespectful and harmful. We apologize unreservedly and commit to honoring our obligations until full restitution is made. Signed by Tanya Holt and Malcolm Holt. Stamped, sealed, notarized. I held that letter in my lap for a long time. It was not affection. It was not reconciliation. But it was truth. And truth has a way of cleansing wounds even when love cannot. Back in Atlanta, whispers had already spread. Their circle, so eager to climb, closed its gates. Invitations dried up. Malcolm's company, wary of headlines, shifted him sideways to a quiet role. Tanya's friends pulled back, some out of shame, others out of fear that they might be judged by her cruelty. Their grand wedding photos sat useless in albums, because everyone who saw them now saw the shadow behind them, the mother placed with garbage. Meanwhile, my circle grew. At St. Mary's Church, they called me Sister Steele. Young women came to me asking how to guard their dignity even with family. Old men clasped my hand and said, "You teach us patience, Miss Bennett." I was not just a mother anymore. I had become a witness. When the final payment cleared, 2 years later, I stood outside the bank with a receipt in my purse and the sun on my shoulders. My mortgage was almost finished, my knees finally scheduled for surgery. I laughed to myself, a laugh that came from deep in my belly. For once, I had money not taken, not begged, not borrowed. Money that was mine, hard-earned and hard-defended. I used a little of it to paint my father's house. Cream walls, green shutters. I hung a new brass plate by the front door that read, "This house is not for sale." People in the village knew the story. They would walk past, nodding, smiling. It became a kind of monument, not to wealth, but to boundaries. As for Tanya, we speak only rarely now. She sends short messages on birthdays, cautious, careful. I answer politely, nothing more. Blood may bind, but respect is the rope that holds. Without it, the bond frays. One evening, years after the wedding, I sat on my veranda, sea breeze brushing my cheek, and thought about that day behind the bins. I realized something important. The real betrayal was not the seat or the smell or even the money. The real betrayal was her belief that I would swallow it quietly, the way I had swallowed hunger and hardship for her whole life. She forgot that mothers are not just vessels of sacrifice. We are also women with spines of iron when the time comes. They tried to bury me in the back of a kitchen, but I was not garbage, I was soil, and from soil things grow. My legacy is not a daughter in Atlanta's social pages. My legacy is this house still standing, my name still clean, my story told in my own words. And if anyone asks me now what I learned, I say it plain. Love is a gift, respect is a condition. Without both, there is no family, only debt waiting to be collected.